Specifically where massive entertainment is concerned, Star Wars Outlaws is treading new ground. Though The Division is not the only thing the studio has ever worked on, it is a team that is associated first and foremost with live service looter-shooter experiences. So it's fair to say that with Star Wars Outlaws, Massive is heading into territory that isn't necessarily familiar for itself. Sure, it's open world, and sure, there's still plenty of third-person shooting happening, but as a single-player, narrative-driven sci-fi game based on a major license, Outlaws isn't the kind of experience that Massive usually works on.
Ramps down! Get that cargo on
Though to be fair, a lot of those same words can also be used to describe Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, which released last December. Though the studio will surely have had to pick up a lot of new tricks during the development of Star Wars Outlaws, so that the game could successfully achieve everything that it was trying to achieve, for the actual players the situation is looking almost entirely different.
She was asking about the bomb maker.
But I also got this relic back for you from Crimson Dawn.
We've seen quite a lot of Star Wars Outlaws over the course of the last year or so, and from its combat in stealth to its open world, factions, characters, and more, all of its core pillars have received plenty of details in the lead-up to launch. A lot of it has looked great. Some of it has sparked some skepticism. But this isn't even about whether it's looked good or bad, because to many the problem is that the game has looked maybe a bit too safe so far. Let's pause and take stock of what we've seen of Star Wars Outlaws so far. Cover-based shooting, the sort of stealth mechanics that will be familiar to anyone who's played any open-world game with stealth elements in recent years, dogfighting when you're in space, zooming across large maps on a vehicle, climbing mechanics similar to Uncharted, and of course a quippy protagonist with an adorable furry companion. All of these are elements that Star Wars Outlaws has hit heavily in its pre-launch marketing, and every last one of them is individually something that we've seen either in other games or in other media countless times. The question then that many have asked is Star Wars Outlaws playing it too safe? Sure, Massive Entertainment is stepping outside of its usual comfort zone by not developing a live service looter shooter. But if you've played any number of AAA open-world action-adventure games or third-person shooters in recent years, is the game doing anything that you'll not have seen before in numerous other games? For the most part, based on what we've seen of the game so far, the answer is probably no. But, and there is a but, that doesn't have to be a bad thing in all cases without exception.
That's gotta be it. Feelers up, buddy. This could get tricky. Someone nearby?
Earlier, I mentioned that this isn't about whether the things that Star Wars Outlaws is doing are good or bad. But let's face it, it obviously is, because ultimately that's what anyone playing the game is going to care about. Yes, it has all of those systems and mechanics that make it seem, at least on face value, like the game was designed on a conveyor belt by the Super AAA committee or something.
Scram, or I'll eat you for lunch.
But if those systems and mechanics are well implemented and fun during gameplay, the fact that the game maybe lacks in originality is going to matter much less. By that same token, however, if the game fails to nail the fundamentals with those elements, people are going to be much less tolerant of its unwillingness to take risks and do new things, especially given how saturated the AAA open-world action-adventure space is. In a genre where competition is that stiff, if the game isn't meeting a certain threshold of quality, chances are it's going to get either ignored at best, or slaughtered at worst. Big shiny license or no. Just look at how things went down for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Or, if you want to take a more positive look, you can look at Star Wars itself and Respawn Entertainment and EA's single-player cracks at the property in the form of the Star Wars Jedi games.
I'm sure the Emperor won't mind if I deliver you to him in pieces!
What? Did you really think you could capture me? You've got classified military intel stored in your yacht.
Fallen Order and Survivor are both games that liberally borrow elements from a variety of different games, from their Souls-like elements to their traversal mechanics and more, but in spite of the fact that they're not necessarily reinventing the wheel with anything they're doing, both games are critical and commercial hits, thanks to the fact that they're both incredibly well-made games that are well worth playing even if you're not a huge Star Wars fan. Whether or not Star Wars Outlaws can replicate that sort of success is the big question right now. Based on everything that we've seen of the game so far, it certainly has got a lot of promise. And credit where credit is due, it's not like it's not doing anything interesting that we don't see an awful lot of in open-world titles of this ilk.
There we go. I'll be back soon. And don't trash the place, Bosnock.
The reputation system is what Outlaws is building its entire gameplay framework on, and it's looking undeniably promising, especially because of how well it can potentially facilitate the game's promise of the ultimate Star Wars scoundrel fantasy. There has, however, also been some skepticism surrounding the game in the lead-up to its release. A lot of that has been down to the game's perceived unwillingness to step away from the established AAA framework for the genre that it's in, but it hasn't helped that Ubisoft has made some typically Ubisoft missteps with the game as well. Whether that's the ridiculously high price of its Ultimate Edition, or the fact that it's locking a bonus Jabba the Hutt mission behind paid DLC, or the fact that its physical disc is going to require a download. Again, these are practices that we've seen multiple times in the past, either from Ubisoft itself or from other major publishers in the industry.
Hey, easy.
The Banpudira. Who are you?
K-Vess, Your Majesty.
But when all of those annoyances add up and combine with the game's showings not landing for everyone, there's going to be more bad press than usual in the lead up to release. The good thing is that Star Wars Outlaws is now not long away from launch. Due out at the end of August for current-gen consoles and PC, the open-world sci-fi title is finally within touching distance now, and questions about whether or not it's going to be able to live up to its many lofty promises will soon be answered conclusively. Our hope is, of course, that Outlaws is able to prove the skeptics wrong, because, honestly, the prospect of a big-budget, single-player, open-world Star Wars game is a salivating one that we've been dreaming about for years and years. Fingers crossed, right? And with that, we reached the end of the video. Have anything to say? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we upload new videos every single day on GamingBolt, so please consider subscribing as it really helps us out. Thanks for watching.